Hello, everybody. We'll just wait a few seconds while everybody comes in. It's so amazing to see all these people. Margaret Gagliardi, I haven't seen you in the longest time. It's great. And Tammy, so good that you're here. Yay. Gretchen, Lisa, Kathleen Storms. Oh my gosh. Yes. Been a long time. And Maureen and Sarmeet. You all are, oh, there's my mom. Right there. Oh, yay. Well, I'm gonna pull all these threads together in the story, as you'll soon see. Oh, it's great. Well, people are still coming in. Nancy Earl, good to see you from Maine. Yay. Hi, Di. Di is in Australia. And Ezekiel, if you can put put those people, pin those people to the top, that'd be great. Yeah, terrific. Great. Oh, Patricia Seaman, I haven't seen you in a long time. Oh, so good. I'm so glad you're here. And Gwen Shangle, yay. Oh, they're still coming in. Charlie Avila in the Philippines.
I'm in the Philippines. Hello.
That's great. Good to see you, Charlie. And we'll just keep everybody muted for now. Oh, I see Connie Barlow coming in. Oh, that is fantastic. And Gail Arnold. Good to see you, Gail. Okay, well, why don't we get started? Welcome, everybody. Really, what this is about today is a chance to, hold on one second, I'm just going to change this view so that I have a gallery view. Is a chance to recognize what I would call the cosmic communion that produced the book. You know, we think of ourselves as individuals doing things, but it really isn't like that. You know, we do things in communion with so many other people and with the earth itself. And this is one of the things that I really want to acknowledge in this celebration. So let me invite you to put your name in the chat and to say where you are. And if you want to say something about your connection to the book, that would be great, just great. And if you're using the book in any way, that's would be also wonderful to hear. Oh, I see Jean Edwards coming in. Oh my goodness. Wow. So just keep letting people in easy. So anyway, go ahead and put where you are, your name, where you are in the chat, and your connection to the book. That's going to be so interesting to have that. I want to start with a quote. And this is a Brian Swimme quote from way back in the early part of his work, which really informed my work. Again, back to this idea of the cosmic communion. And here's the quote. This is the greatest discovery of the scientific enterprise. You take hydrogen gas and you leave it alone, and it turns into rosebuds, giraffes, and humans. So really sitting with that understanding, the magnitude of what the universe has done is just mind-blowing. And Brian Swimme's work has changed and developed over so many years. And we are going to hear from Brian in a little bit because he is here. Thank you so much for being here, Brian. So here's just a little bit of the story about the book and this cosmic communion. First, I want to point out my mother, who is turning 94 in 2 days. And Mom, there you are. Just wave, Mom. There she is. Can you see her? And I think you can see how we look alike. Mom is a fantastic liturgist. And I think she inspired me so deeply with her artistic liturgies in the church from the time I was born until decades and decades later. Mom, you inspired me so much with your work. Thank you. My godmother, Letitia Boards, she registered, I think she's here. And then I want to recognize from Genesis Farm, Maureen Wild. Maureen Wild, wave your hand, thank you. And Jean Edwards. So Jean Edwards, Maureen was director of the program that I did back in 1997 at Genesis Farm. That was the spark that started this whole thing based on the work of Thomas Berry and Brian Swimme. Miriam McGillis is a member of Sisters of Earth. So that's a whole important organization. If you're a member of Sisters of Earth, please wave your hands, because I know there are a bunch of you here. Maureen, there we go. Yep, thank you, Barbara. Nancy Earl, yep. These are mostly Catholic sisters who have been experimenting with liturgy and with taking the universe story, into life in so many ways, in every way, from liturgies to farming to teaching, countless ways. The school that was started, the Ridge and Valley Charter School that was started in Blairstown, based on the work of Genesis Farm. Of course, my son was 6 years old, and I think he's on here somewhere, Morgan Martindale. And he was 6 years old when I did the program at Genesis Farm in '97. And so I'd go home and teach him stories at night. And I'd tell him these bedtime stories and light a candle and tell him about the story of the universe. And I could see that he was actually very interested in what I was saying. I didn't expect it, but he was really interested. And I realized that children that age are really fascinated with the topic. Now, at that time, he was at the Princeton Montessori School. So one day I got the idea to start writing a book when I saw Morgan's interest. So I took my manuscript to his teacher at the Princeton Montessori School, and that was Sue Steidel, who taught with Gwen Shangle, who is in this room right here, Gwen Shangle. Gwen Shangle, you can wave your hand. Maybe somebody will see it here and all the people. And so then Sue Steidel read the manuscript. She gave it back to me, and I still remember it. The written in red, fits right in with Montessori cosmic education. And I thought, what the heck is that? I'd never even heard of it before. And here it turned out my son was at the Montessori school. He was getting his cosmic education, and I, his parent, was getting my cosmic education. And so again, this thing of synchronicity happening throughout this entire story, and then the synergy, of course. So once I began to learn about Montessori cosmic education, then I realized that this was age appropriate for the elementary level. So then I went full force ahead with the books. But living in Princeton, I wanted to get the science, the best science. So I took 5 courses at Princeton University, and one of them I took with Jill Knapp and James Gunn, who I think are here in this meeting. James Gunn and Jill Knapp. They're astrophysicists at Princeton. They registered. And the other person I worked with a lot was Arthur Kosowski, who's a cosmologist. And the way I met Arthur was completely by accident, or quotes, accident. I was walking in the park one day, and there was this man sitting in the grass, and his kids were crawling all over him, just crawling all over him. And something drew me to just go and talk to him. So I walked up to him and I just started a conversation, and something possessed me to say, well, what do you do? And he said, I'm a cosmologist. And of course I went, what? That's exactly what I'm looking for. I need you. And he lived not far from my house. And so I, showed him everything I was doing, consulted with him. And he also turned out to be extremely important for the revision. So then at this point, I had separated from my husband. And by the way, I think Roger, my ex-husband, is in this room too. Hi, Roger, if you're here. And thank you for coming. It's great. It's great that we're still friends. Wonderful. So, money was extremely tight, shall we say. And, I wasn't sure, how am I going to bring in enough money to support writing these books? Well, it just so happened that I got into a conversation with a policeman in town, a policeman of Indian background. And I was telling him about my project. Now, how often do you get into a conversation with the policeman about the book you're writing? Anyway, so then he says, I think you should go and talk to Rajiv Malhotra. It's called the Infinity Foundation. Maybe you could get a grant. So anyway, I call up Rajiv. I have a meeting with him, and I get a check like a week later for $25,000. And so I just oh my gosh, that was just like God reaching down and saying, you go, girl, just go. So another pointer. Now, getting a publisher, that was not easy. I had about 30 rejections, and then finally connected with Dawn Publications in Nevada City in California. And after many communications, they decided to take on the project. So I went out to California. I was meeting with them for dinner. I stayed in their house. We had met for dinner. And we talked about, now, what illustrator do we want to have for this book? And I said, I want to have somebody who got cosmic energy. I don't want little stick figures. I want this to be full of energy. So we walk out of the restaurant after we're finished eating, and we're walking up toward the car, and there's this gallery opening going right there. And the light's coming out. And we kind of say, well, let's go check that out. So we go in, and there's this huge painting of the universe on the wall. And Lynne Andersen is standing right underneath it. And you're going to hear from her in a minute. So then the three of us, there was Muffy, Glenn, and me, we're kind of like, we can't believe this. Like, is this for real? So I walk around, I read Dana's biography, and she was inspired by Brian Swimme to do her cosmic work. So then Glenn says, now we're scheduled to go over to something at the church in town, which is the Tibetan Buddhist sand painting. And if we can't get in or whatever, we should come back and talk to Dana because she's the one. So we go over to the church. We're walking down the sidewalk toward the church, and the door closes just as we get to the church. And the person puts his head out and says, the church is full. We can't accept any more people in the church. So the three of us look at each other. We're going back to Dana. So we drive back to the gallery and we walk in to Dana, and then we bring up the idea of her being the illustrator. And now, Dana, you say your side of the story.
Okay, well, that was great, Jennifer. Wonderful. And I just feel really lit up around the idea of synchronicity, because it's been such a powerful part of this process, and also a powerful part of the message of the universe seeping through all of the membranes between and around us. And so for me, it was very interesting because just a week or so before this, I had done this little affirmation. I really want to work with really creative people on creative projects, and I want to be part of a collaboration that is expansive and shares deep and meaningful and important things. And that was really, to me, one of the most amazing things about this whole project, was having that intention. And then Glenn and Muffy were friends of mine, so I knew them. So I look out the window and I'm like, hey, there's Glenn and Muffy, you know? And then you guys, what was very interesting to me about that night was I was not usually there at night. Now, my artwork was up. I had a show at the place, but normally I wasn't there at nighttime because I lived half an hour away in the dark in the country. But they called me up and said, we need someone for the concert tonight to manage the concession stand. And normally, honestly, I would not have been at all interested in that, but I just had this impulse, like, you're supposed to go. Yes, okay, I'll go. And I really acted on it against the advice of my body and brain that wanted to just stay home and rest. And it was very powerful to have that be like a direct guidance. And I think that's part of what we get to experience when we're open, you know, to say yes to what's unfamiliar and unknown, and stepping in, following that guidance. So meeting with Jennifer and Glenn and Muffy, and then the whole process of the book, actually, in creating it, was a real fulfillment of that intention, because we had such a wonderful time. How many publishers have you over sitting around in the living room talking about the pages and the ideas and the stories, and how should we depict it and how should we express it? And you know, Jennifer did the heavy lifting of bringing all of this information and knowledge together. But there was a beautiful collaborative spirit at a certain point as we swirled it into its final form. So it was very exciting. And painting the paintings was also a very interesting entry into different moments in our process of this journey that we're blossoming inside of. And for example, there was one painting that really sticks out in my memory, where it was the canvas was all white, and it was like before the beginning of the universe, before creation. And I couldn't, for the longest time, even add the most pale yellow. You know, it was so pure, it was so pristine. And I felt like when I finally started to bring in this very pale yellow, it was like the shock of being, the shock of creation, the shock of something coming from nothing. And then, of course, it gets richer and more colorful, and that ended up being that one where the supernova is, you know, exploding in all directions. but I really felt often the experience of life as it enters into these moments in its journey. So that was a really beautiful and special thing. And I just want to give, in case it, you know, I'm sure we all feel this way, but I just want to do a big shout out for Jennifer for really following this impulse and bringing it forth, and also for bringing us together these many years later. I think this is a beautiful event, and I'm really happy and honored to be a part of it, and happy that you're carrying that thread forward and doing the work to get Born with a Bang out again. You know, this is thrilling. So thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Dana. Thanks. So the whole series with Dana and with the publisher, that was a was basically a 10-year process, you know, from beginning to end. And many people were just so much a part of it along the way, one of which was, you know, I'd go and rent my houses out, or house at that point, and go stay with people to bring in, you know, money to support the project. And one I just want to acknowledge especially is Mary Coelho. Hi, Mary. I stayed for months with Mary in her house in Cambridge. Thank you so much, Mary. Mary wrote the book Awakening Universe, and she was such an inspiration. Also, her work is such an inspiration. So the first book came out in 2002 and immediately started getting invitations to do conferences in the Montessori world and to do teacher trainings and school visits and so on. And I think Judy Bauerlein is here in the room too. She's a former president of the American Montessori Society. Michael Dorr is a trainer, Montessori trainer, and so many others. Then in 2013, I gave a keynote address to the American Montessori Society. And in that same year, we founded the Deeptime Network. And I believe there are three board members here in the room. Brian Tucker is there. Wave your hand, Brian. And Gail Arnold and Orla. I'm not sure Orla is here because I think she was traveling. And then most recently, thanks to Judy Bauerlein, and I organized a group of people who created a Montessori life issue that was completely dedicated to cosmic education. And Tammy, you saw that. Yeah, that's Phil Gang had a major article in there too. We invited him in. Yes, so good. So why the revision? And Arthur, are you here by any chance? Arthur, are you here?
Yeah, Jen, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you are. Oh, good. There's Arthur Kosowski. So Arthur, you know, this is good to have you on the screen because before the first book came out, like back in the 70s and 80s, we thought the universe might be 20 billion years old, right? Or somewhere 15 to 20 billion. And then that became more and more refined. And when I was writing the first book, you know, I asked you the question, what age should I use for the universe? And you said 13 billion.
Oh, that was pretty good.
That was really good. And that
was an educated guess at that point. We didn't really have the data to pin it down, but.
And then, so use that. Then a year after the book came out, you and I were sitting in that press conference at Princeton University when the results of WMAP, the Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe, that press conference was in Washington, but it was streamed to Princeton. And I was sitting there with you. Neil deGrasse Tyson was a few seats away. And, you know, most of the people from the department at Princeton were there in that press conference. And then when they said the age of the universe is 13.7 billion years old, that was like, wow, Arthur, you guys really did well. That was a really, really good guess. So then, as many people know, the Planck results came out at 13.8. And so it felt right in the new edition to change the age from 13 to 14. And then we included a lot of the James Webb images. And Arthur so kindly went through the entire book. You corrected a few other things, thankfully.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. We're gonna come back to you in a minute. Okay. I also want to thank Patty, Arnold, and my sister Adele, who did a lot of the graphic arts on the revised version. And I think there's a whole room of people up in Maine who's watching this, and Adele is in that room, though I don't know where you are, Adele. You're there somewhere. So let's just go to, oh, we're doing really well on time. So what I'm going to do now is I would love to turn this over to Brian Swimme, and then for a few comments, and then we'll come back and we'll just have a conversation and see what questions, what comments, and so on people might have. Go, take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Jennifer. And as others have said, I feel honored to be part of the celebration. And I thought I'd begin with some remarks about the whole endeavor. And Thomas Berry, in particular, he was convinced that the great majority of human energy, throughout the planet, is directed toward the next generation. Like he even thought it would be, if you had to estimate what activities in a civilization, he'd say it was up to 90%. This work of providing the safety and the food and for young humans. But that alone, the physical survival is not enough. What is needed is a second birth, as he called that. I'm not sure he made that up, but the idea of we have a biological birth, and then we have a cultural birth into what does that mean? It's a transition, a transformation, where the wisdom of the community is drawn into one's life, one's thinking, one's feeling. Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, studied this, and he noticed that around the planet, the most important of the myths told in various communities was the one that had to do with creation, the universe as a whole. And this we've learned so much about the universe, but there's a way in which there's a similarity between what we've learned and what earlier peoples knew, indigenous people. And one way to say it is that we recognize that each child is ultimately a child of the universe, not simply the parents. And so learning the story of how things came to be determines, in a certain sense, the relationship a child has, with the sun, with the moon, with the ocean, with air, with each other. And just the importance of doing this. I think of it concerning those of us who are adults. If we're teachers of children, or if we're parents or grandparents or relatives, we have this responsibility to tell the fundamental cosmological story of our time. But even when we think about that, the anxiety rises. How are we going to tell it? what language, what imagery. And this is the great gift of Jennifer Morgan, Jennifer working with Dana. They've created a scientific, poetic narrative of the origin and development of the universe. It's a gift of tremendous value. I wanted to read. So here we have. I wanted to read one little part for those of you that perhaps haven't yet read Born with the Bang. So here's a statement. I was about 8.5 billion years old when our Earth was born. So Jennifer is personifying the entire universe, and this would be something that is, radically different from how the universe is presented in most of our classrooms. But it isn't that different from how humans early on thought without any of our data. I was about 8.5 billion years old when the Earth was born. She was a high energy young pup. So this is the universe talking about Earth now. She was a high energy young pup. I mean, to think of a planet as a young pup, I mean, if you take that in, there's a tenderness to a young pup and to the planet as a whole that would be so helpful in our time. She was a high energy young pup cruising around your sun. Erupting volcanoes spewed steam and other gases. The steam turned to rain, and the rain formed vast oceans. Other gases rose up and became the air. Lightning storms zapped her seas. Meteors and comets crashed into her for millions of years. So that here's a child hearing that story feels the ignition of awe and wonder. Whoa, living in a dramatic universe like this. So this sinks down into the very soul of these young children. And for us, for adults, carrying out this process of telling the story, we have to realize that it's something as significant as the DNA. This is what we're shaping, the cutting edge of evolution on this planet Earth. And at such an early age to learn something that important. In an ultimate sense, what Jennifer's work does is awakening in a child a sense that he or she is the whole universe, manifesting as this unique individual. So thank you, Jennifer. And I speak now for all the species of our planet. Thank you for this work.
Well, it wouldn't have happened without you and Thomas. That's the thing, the contingency, right? All these different steps, each step was contingent upon what came before it. Yeah, I had that profound experience, which you read in the Montessori Life article, where I was sitting down at the diner down in Sarasota reading your book. And because that was about your life. And then I saw myself and my books coming. Like I saw myself and my books coming inside of your story. It was just such a profound experience to see that. Yeah.
And you use the word communion to speak of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's just open this up and let's see, maybe Easy, you could take the spotlight off. Or yeah, take the spotlight off of me too. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll just open the chat here. I'm just curious if there are any people who are using the book. Trisha, I know that you're using the book. Do you want to, there's Trisha right there. Trisha, would you like to say something about how you're using the books? Or if not, that's fine. Or if anybody has a comment and wants to, just, you know how to raise your hand in Zoom. You can just raise your hand. There we go. Kay, did you have a question? Or might want to make a comment? There we go. Okay. CJ. Unmute yourself, CJ. Yeah.
I'm working with the Children of the Universe project,
Oh, yes.
and
yeah.
we are using your books in that. So I'm currently, I work with the people who have it in Africa, and they don't have much of a background right now in the new cosmology. So I've really been working to try to take the books and take Thomas's and Brian's ideas and put them in language that they can understand so that they can more effectively use those in their classrooms.
That's great. Do you want to say a little bit more about the Children of the Universe project, CJ?
Okay, the Children of the Universe project is funded by Mary Evelyn Tucker, and it's to give students an opportunity, give teachers an opportunity to teach this idea to their students, that they are part of this whole universe story. And so the grant has given us the opportunity to give the trilogy of Jennifer's, as well as Betty Kiselov's book. I see Betty there. Betty's book, Great Ball of Fire, several books by Peggy, who worked with Thomas Berry down in North Carolina, and some of Earth Mama's music as well. And we don't have a curriculum as such. And for some, that isn't really necessary because they're grounded in this kind of thinking already. But I discovered that with a number of the teachers I've been working with, they really don't have the background. So I have been trying to put into a more concrete structure, not like ABCD, but just an overview of why this is important and how they might implement this in their classroom. And so we have 50 teachers currently using it throughout the United States, Indonesia, India, and Africa. And then we will give out 50 more sets this coming year.
That's fantastic. CJ, if you want to put a link in the chat for the Children of the Universe, or Maureen, if you want to do that.
Okay, Maureen, why don't you do it? Because you have it on your computer there, I know.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. You know, this is the thing that about what we're doing right now, and that is celebrating these relationships that have spanned decades. These relationships have spanned decades. Like Maureen Wild was director of the program at Genesis Farm. And now she and CJ are doing this project. So, and we're still together. We're still working together. I just love that. I just love that. Anne Amberg.
Hi, Jennifer. I just am so excited to hear everybody's input, and thank you again for the books, and thank you for having this revised edition. I just wanted to just add my 2 cents that the original trilogy of books inspired me over, it was almost 15 years ago, I guess around 2008 or 9, to create a universe story course for K through 12 professional development. So this was required, all 3 books were required reading for the K through 6 set of teachers, and it was an online course. So I estimate probably over 100 teachers from all over the United States in public schools, private schools, Waldorf schools had taken this course that I taught based on that, basic required reading of your books. So I was so inspired by that at the time, and listening to everybody now, I kind of have this sense that it might be something to consider to resurrect that course in another form. I just think it's so important to reach these classrooms in any way we can. And also thank you again to Dana for your fabulous illustrations, which are always so gorgeous. Thanks.
And please let us know what you do, okay? Because we would love to let others know about it.
Yeah, I am part of the Deeptime Network, and I'm intending to come to the next cafe. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Gretchen.
This is a very exciting experience to be here with so many people. I have two questions, Jennifer. First is, do you have a copy of the revised book, and when will it be available? Number one. Number two, what prompted all the revisions?
What prompted what, did you say?
All the revisions. Why did you need to revise it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, here it is. It's available. And you can get it on Amazon. And so what prompted it were the things we just talked about with Arthur, but also more practically or more immediately. Here's what happened. The original publisher was Dawn Publications. That company was bought by Source Books, which is a very big company. And they really, honestly, they just didn't treat the book very well. And it was very difficult to deal with this big company. I never knew who I could talk to about anything. It was very alienating. Dana and I were able to get the copyright back. And so now Dana and I own the copyrights to the book. And so now we can do anything we want. It's a different experience because we're in charge now. And so it's available through Amazon on demand. So if you go to Amazon, be sure you search for the revised edition. If you just search for Born with a Bang, you're going to get the old one. And then they're going to be like very few copies, and they're selling for like $500 or some ridiculous thing like that. So just be sure to type in revised edition when you're searching for it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Doreen.
Hello, everyone, and congratulations, Jennifer. I've got an old edition. I'm a retired teacher and a recipient of 2025's Children of the Universe grant, and I have an organization called Soul Sprouts, and from children early on, early childhood, all the way through high school. I'm writing curriculum to support Brian Swimme, and Thomas Berry's work, because I believe in it totally. And so congratulations tonight. And I will order a new edition because this is an old edition. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Doreen. That's great. Tammy, I'm curious what you think about all of these people coming up with curriculum.
I love it. I love that there's many ways. And I did want to just throw out there, sorry to step on you, but the idea that in Montessori, we tell the story of the universe. The difference with your stories is that it puts us as part of the story. And I think that's what we often forget, is that we are part of this. So thank you so much, Jennifer, and to Dana. I've had 30 years of working in Montessori, and starting from when you published your book, I got to share it with children starting very young all the way through. And now I'm a teacher educator. So read it.
Just say a word about the Institute for Educational Studies.
Yes, the Institute for Educational Studies, called TIES, is in its 30th year this year. We're at LaSalle University, and we're a graduate program for Montessori integrative learnings and a Master's of Education track as well in integrative learning. And we utilize the universe for our blueprint for all things.
Yeah. It's amazing how everything changes when you start with the universe, right?
it all ties together. Imagine
Exactly.
that. Thank you again, Jennifer. I love being here.
Tammy. Bing is in the Philippines.
Hi, Jennifer. It's wonderful to be here. I just recalled my during the pandemic in 2020, I gave the 3 books to my niece who was 6 years old then, and she was reading it in the beginning, like 13 billion years. I asked her to read it aloud. I was there and said, "What? 13 billion years old? So she's my grandmother?" And then when she was reading about the Milky Way, she was saying, "Why is she called Milky Way? She has much milk?" And when she was reading about the hydrogen, she said, "Oh, whenever I drink water, I'm taking in hydrogen." So, what I'm saying is a 6-year-old who was reading this can really relate to the story. And she's really reacting. And after reading the first volume, she said, "I want to draw to paint the universe." So I took my colors and, we painted together. So, and she really drew the Milky Way. The first thing that she drew was she painted the Milky Way. And last month I was there and she was remembering. She said, "Tita Beng, do you remember when we were painting together the universe?" And she was recalling the story that she read. So I would love to have the revised edition and give it again to her and have been. She's now 11. So I don't know how she will react when I will ask her again to read the book from 6 to 11. So thank you, Jennifer, for this beautiful book. It has touched my niece. Her name is Sophia. This really touched her. And I also want to share to the community, to this community, that so Dana is here. We are now promoting the Feast of Creation. There is an ecumenical group. We have met in Assisi for two times already, and we are promoting the Feast of Creation to be in the liturgical calendar of all Christian churches. And we have this Via Creationes, so it's like similar to the Via Crucis during the Lenten season, and the Via Creationes during the season of creation from September 1 to October 4. And here in the Philippines, for 2 years now, we use the photo. There are 9 stations of the universe story. So the Via Creationes, there are 2 readings in the prayer, one from the book of the Cosmos and then the book of Genesis together. And we have used the photos, your photos, Dana. I took some photos in the 3 books for the 9 stations. I asked Jennifer if we can do it. So Jennifer said, "Go for it. Just put the reference." I put there from book 1 of Jennifer's, and then page, and then I put your name also, Dana, as the illustrator, and we have used it for 2 years already. And the Via Creationes is here in Manila as an ecumenical gathering since 2023. From 2017, it was purely Catholic. And then 2023, we started the Ecumenical Walk for Creation. And last year and this year, we used the Via Creationes, and they love the photos. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for allowing us to use the photos.
Thank you. Dana, I hope that's okay that I said that. I knew you'd say yes.
I'm just finding this out. No, it's wonderful. It's so exciting, actually. It's just brilliant
that these things are coming into play like that. How wonderful. Put the link to it. Oh, good, you did. Wonderful. Thank you.
This is Annette and Kay Fernhalls from the Midwest. We're the flyover part of the world. So I'm just wanting you to know that we're speaking from our experience coming from Minnesota.
Okay.
And we are not young anymore. Kay and I are in our 80s, and we were somewhat young when the books came out. And so we got really excited. But it seemed to me in the Midwest, it seemed to me that we had to always be so aware of the resistance to evolution. So we tried so many times to present the books to the Midwest environments out here. And we have gone the other route now because we can't throw them into the communities, little rural communities out here, because there's the resistance to evolution. Just wondering if anybody has experienced that. We actually took the books and we were given permission to make them into large 14 by 14 outdoor posters. And we created a walking storybook of the trilogy. And we had it at the little farm where we live right now called Earthrise Farm. And we had them dug into the ground and in a circle. We put them in the woods. So we created a walking storybook. And what was so wonderful about it, it was not just a child's book. This is a book for all ages. And we discovered out here that this is the level that most of us have to start at, because we have been so slow in permeating the story. And when I came across your books, I thought, now I can take myself and go with the story, because I didn't doubt that this was the only true story. Not the truest one, but the truest one we've got. And I didn't think I'd feel any resistance about presenting those stories to the broader public. But here there is deep resistance. And I'm just wondering, does that affect any of you all in your environments? Or do you have to kind of go underground to get this story presented? Just wondering, because we gave it to this Little Falls sisters, Franciscan sisters in Little Falls, Minnesota. And I think there's somebody on here tonight from Little Falls. And they are going to take this trilogy of the walking storybooks to their campus. And who knows what they're going to do with it. There was a sister in their community by the name of Addie Crawl, and she just passed away, but her whole life was dedicated to this Earth story. And she had to come home about several months ago from Berkeley because she was dying of cancer. Before she got there, Kay and I were able to present this trilogy in broad posters, outdoor posters, to that Little Falls community. And she died a couple of weeks ago. But this was the end of her life to receive this story. And I just am so touched by how this story so miraculously makes its way to our times. And thank you just so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Kay. These are great questions that you're bringing up. And I know that other people have encountered them in different ways. You're definitely not alone in encountering this kind of resistance. And I know that there are sort of other ways in, if you will. Evolution is tough for a lot of people. You know, it's very challenging. Brian, this must be fascinating for you to be hearing all these different ways that people are responding.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just thrilling.
Yeah. Let's take, oh my gosh, it's already 7:54. Okay, we can do one more, and then we want to hear from Brian about this course that's coming up that he'll be teaching. So why don't we just do Maureen? I'm sorry, Monica. Monica, by the way, Monica, please put the link to your book, The Story of the Noosphere, that came out recently, which is fantastic. We just had a program on that book just about 10 days ago, which was incredible. Maureen.
Thank you, first of all, Jennifer and Dana. Congratulations. It's a wonderful next chapter for the trilogy. And we've been waiting and hoping for about a year for the Children of the Universe, hoping that it would get out to the world in 2026 again. So thank you for that. This goes back 30 years ago. Jennifer was studying at Genesis Farm. Jean Edwards, who's with us tonight, we were witnessing the students express in their own way the universe story. And Jennifer will remember this dramatization that she did in the Genesis Farm library that had all of us in kind of shock and awe at the same time, and just putting her whole body, soul, and person into the whole telling of the universe story. So we could kind of see this coming, Jennifer, back then, but you were integrating it in such a beautiful, profound, amazing, creative ways already when you were new to it. And I would just like to say that the picture that you shared, the photo you shared with us at Sisters of Earth of you working with Thomas on the draft manuscript, that was very, very special. And we showed it at the last Sisters of Earth conference. So I'm very, very conscious of Thomas as part of the thread here, the early thread of this book. Thank you, Jennifer and Dana.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Yeah. Okay, now, Brian, can you say something about this course coming up called Activating Cosmogenetic Experience?
Yeah, very quickly. The course is founded on the conviction that we as a planetary community, we are in the midst of a deep transformation, and the basic idea is that what we've learned about the universe has the power, the capacity to lead into a different experience of the universe. I wanted to here's a quote from William James, and this has to do with a fundamental bad habit that the modern world has fallen into, which is the idea that our form of consciousness, let's call it scientific and rational, that form of consciousness is the same all the way back to the beginning of humanity. But that's not the case. It's the scientific mentality is of supreme importance, but it is one form of consciousness among many. Here's William James, who is the finest psychologist in the history of America. Here's what he writes: our normal waking consciousness, rational consciousness as we call it, is but one special type of consciousness, whilst all about it, parted from it by the filmiest of screens, there lie potential forms of consciousness entirely different. We may go through life without suspecting their existence, but apply the requisite stimulus, and at a touch, they are there. So that's what our course is. It's the requisite stimulus for awakening profound and new experiences of the universe itself. And that this is actually activating another form of Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is a species that reinvents itself without altering its anatomy. And here's another, the last line from William James, which is, amazing. He says, "No account of the universe in its totality can be final, which leaves these other forms of consciousness quite disregarded." I mean, whoa. When you think about the the universities and classrooms all around the planet, the universe is presented in just one form of consciousness, the rational form of consciousness. And what he is saying is that you will not have an account of the universe in its totality until you break out of that and bring alive these other experiences, sometimes called mystical, sometimes called heart-centered, but these other experiences of the universe which complement the scientific. So there's a quick summary of what we will be about in January.
Great, thank you.
By say we, I mean Jennifer, all right, and Ezekiel, and Carolyn Cook, and myself, all four of us.
Yes, great. Okay, Easy, you can remove the spotlight. And thank you so much, Brian. We also have a free info session specifically about this course that's coming up on November 13th, and I'll include that in a follow-up email to everybody. So that's free, and do join in. Just, whether or not you take the course or not, just join in for the fun of it. Because this is so much fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody said something, I don't know who. We need this nourishment. This is nourishment. We need to eat. We need this nourishment. That's what this is all about. And so a closing quote, but first let me just say thank you. Thank you to everybody for coming. It just makes me feel so good. I love it to be part of this communion with all of you and beyond. So many more people too who registered. We had 222 registrants and many who are going to get the recording. And okay, so a final quote. Again, this is from Brian Swimme. The transformation of consciousness, which is required to live in a cosmogenetic universe. That means a creative universe. The creative universe has hardly begun. Let me say that again. The transformation of consciousness, which is required to live into a cosmogenetic universe, has hardly begun. Thank you so much, everybody. Blessings, blessings on all of you. Have a good night or a good day wherever you are. Bye-bye.